I was 19 years old and I decided to join the Army. Went through the physical and did everything that I needed to do to get into the Army. The night before I was supposed to go into the Army, I decided to go out and do something that most people do when they go into the Army. Went out and got drunk. Woke up the next morning 100 miles north of town, highway patrol man knocking on the window, say, "Boy, what you doing sleeping in a stolen truck?" Had no idea. Covered in mud and blood because I got into a fight with some guy and we ended up down in a creek, just wrestling around. When I got out of jail 90 days later, I went to the recruiter, asked if I can still go in the Army. He said, "No, we don't want you now. You're a convicted felon." Well, life changed for me big time then. I went and I got a couple of jobs. I was working as a cook at Western Sizzler and part-time as a gas station attendant at Amoco. You might not remember what that is, but that's back when they had gas stations and service stations and stuff, and people actually pumped gas for you, wipe the windows and, check your oil and stuff like that for no extra charge. And, well, after a couple of months of that, I was like, still had this wandering bug, so I violated my probation and just started hitchhiking around the country again. Well, about a year and a half later, I got stopped in a routine traffic stop. Found out that they had a warrant out for me and they arrested me, and I went to jail again, second time for this one night of getting drunk. Now in Florida, they had this, when I first arrested, they had parole. The second time I was arrested, they'd done away with parole and were doing mandatory gain time. And there was dudes going up there getting a year a day and spending a few weeks in prison and then getting out. So I told the public defender, he come at me, he said, "We want to give you 3 more years on top of the 2.5 years that you still have left to serve on probation." And I told him, I said, "If I couldn't handle 6 months of 3 years probation, what makes you think I can handle 5.5 years of probation?" And so I asked him, I said, "Try to get me a year and a day." He came back and said, "The judge knows what I'm trying to do, and he wants me to spend some time in penitentiary." So he came back with 18 months. I took it. In that, they gave me 6 months off mandatory gain time, and then they gave me 6 months time served for the 2 times I spent 90 days in the county jail, which brought it down to 6 months. And then for that, I got 2 days for every day that I served in penitentiary. And the last 9 weeks that I was incarcerated, I was working at Coconuts on the Beach in Cocoa Beach, Florida, as a busboy. And so, in all, I ended up on this 18-month sentence. I served 4.5 months. All because I got drunk one night and did something I shouldn't have done. When I was 51, I was working at a nursing home in Deming, New Mexico. And they did a check on me, and they said, because I have this prison record from when I was 19, imagine now I'm 51 now, so what's that, 32 years later? They had to let me go. And they said in order for me to get the job, I had to go back to the judge that sentenced me and have my record expunged. And I was like, well, if the judge is still alive, chances are he's not on the bench anymore. And seriously, how much money am I supposed to spend to save this $7.55 an hour job? Life. People say that, people are homeless because of choices that they made. I don't agree with that. Some choices, yes. But, nobody asked for their spouse to cheat on them. Nobody asked for their factory to be sold overseas and be laid off. So not every choice is the reason that you're in the situation you're in. There's choices that were made for you. Now, your reaction to those choices, may not always be the right reaction at the time. And so, you do have to deal with certain things. But to sit there and say that the only reason that person is homeless is because of their choices, that's not exactly true, you know. So, yeah, I mean, you make choices, but then there's choices that are made for you.